Hi folks, Don Garbutt here. Welcome to part 2 of my tutorial series on the LuSH-101 by the d16 group audio software. In the last tutorial I talked about some of the sounds in this piece. I'm going to carry on describing some more of the sounds and show you how I made them. The sound that introduces this piece is one layer. It's a mixture of pulse width variable square wave and a bit of the supersaw. In this setting, the pulse width of the square wave is being modulated by LFO2. The synced LFO is also re-triggered by the gator steps. I'm also using that LFO2 to randomly move the cutoff point of the filter. The cycle of the LFO as well can be reset in a couple of different ways. It can be reset to the clock of the arpeggiator, and you can switch off the reset completely. This sound is using the arpeggiator side of the gator, and you'll see that the arpeggiator holds on the same value when you have the tie buttons lit. You might have noticed that the LuSH-101 is a bit of a CPU hog. I've been recording these parts into audio so that I can add more parts without worrying about overloading my CPU. To take advantage of the random LFO action, I took 2 passes of the intro and got different random values on each stroke and blended them together. Originally, this sound continued on into the verse, but I ended up not using it in the verse, but I cut a little 2-bar patch and brought it up into the intro as well, and this is a repetition of that 2-bar patch. This particular bass sound is a composite of 2 different layers. Here's layer 1. And here's layer 2. And together. I've also added a bit of the built-in delay module to both sides. If you notice, I was just holding down one note and all the articulation pulsing is coming from the arpeggiator gator. That bass is stacked with a whole different sound. In this sound, I'm using a square wave and a sub-oscillator tuned an octave lower. I've adjusted the pulse width position to give it a little bit more of a trebly tone. The separate layers are also called timbres. Often what I'll do is copy the timbre from layer 1 into layer 2. You can do that by command-clicking on this button, selecting the next layer, and command-clicking on this button. That way you can create a fat sound by making changes in the duplicate layer, such as slight tuning adjustments and panning adjustments. I'm also running these sounds in mono mode with some voice stacking set here. The voices are detuned slightly, and with the pan position on full, that means the voices are dispersed across the stereo field. The basic tonal shaping that you're hearing is brought on by filter cutoff points being moved by LFOs and the envelope generator. In this case, I've got an LFO triggering from the stepping of the arpeggiator, and this LFO is not being re-triggered by any notes or arpeggiator and is just running in sync with the piece. Playing along with that is a second bass patch which is articulating individual notes. Here I'm controlling volume by envelope 2. You can also switch to pure gate mode, which frees up the envelope generators to use for other things. When the envelope generators are set to gate mode, that means they don't trigger if you play legato, provided you're in mono mode either by having one voice or by clicking on the mono mode button. I'm also stacking 4 voices together for this bass sound to get a thicker sound. Kind of a straightforward tone with a blend of the 2 waveforms and the sub-oscillator. Sub-oscillator in this case is set 2 octaves lower. Envelope generator 1 is set up to control the filter cutoff point. In keeping with the progressive rock feeling though, I added an actual electric bass sound from the Music Man Garbutt bass from Contact, and I also duplicated the line on a sine wave to give it some low meat down in the bottom area. Here are all the bass sounds playing together. In part 3 of this series, I'll talk about the lead and pad sounds. Thanks for watching.